Today I want to tell you about Arkham Investigator. This is a game that is free, available for free for print and play, and you do not need to assemble, cut, glue, anything. You simply print the file and that's it, the game is ready to play. And this is because it's a narrative game, it's a storytelling game with a very strong story element. Mechanically, the game is inspired by the classic game Sherlock Holmes Consultant Detective, and that's a game that I like very much, and I reviewed it a couple of years ago. You can watch my video if you want to know more about that game. And Arkham Investigator has the same mechanic, the same general idea, but with a Lovecraftian theme. And if there is something that I like more than Conan Doyle stories about Sherlock Holmes, are Lovecraft stories about the Cthulhu mythos. So to me that was amazing, very promising, very excited about this when I found it online, because one of my favorite game engines, or at least an engine that I really enjoy because of its strong narrative potential, married with one of my favorite literary themes. Oh my gosh, so exciting, so exciting, so exciting. Now, Arkham Investigator, as I said, you can find it on Board Game Geek, and all you need to do is to print the files. And pretty much you have a file that once printed will give you the rules, not very thick. And then you have on thicker file or series of files really that once printed will give you the Arkham directory. That is a directory of places, institutions, and people in Arkham. As you can see, you see the name of various people and places that you may want to visit at some point, associated with alphanumerical codes. Then you also have a map that gives you a sense of where those things are. And finally you have an adventure, a case itself. And the adventure and investigation that is available in Arkham Investigator is a Grain of Evil Investigation 1. In this investigation you're presented with a story, with a mystery, and you need to, well, investigate it, guess what? And since it's Lovecraftian in theme, probably you know that it will have something to do with abominable deities, aliens, entities trying to cross over into our plane of existence, cultists, that sort of stuff. Or does it? I don't know, maybe it doesn't talk about that stuff. I don't want to give any spoilers, maybe I already gave you too many. Actually, another thing that is very important is the Arkham Advertiser, this fake newspaper that gives you a sense of what's going on in Arkham, and you need to read it very carefully to find clues. So, and then you have the main investigation. As I said, the main investigation, but what do you find? You will find paragraphs that are marked with some of those codes. You know, you have C19, D32, and so on and so forth. Those codes, and then they're followed by a paragraph telling you what you find there. That means the game works a little bit, but not exactly like a choose-your-own-adventure type of book. In choose-your-own-adventure books and game books, the type of interactive fiction of that sort, you read a section of the story and then you're presented with several choices that link you directly to the other sections where the story continues. You want to turn left, go to paragraph 120. You want to turn right, go to paragraph 240. Here you do not have that. You are presented with the case, with some clues, and then you have to deal. And the way is that by reading the clues, you try to figure out where are the places where you may want to look for those clues. Maybe I want to look on that store. Maybe I want to have a look at the library. Maybe I want to talk to a person that works at the hospital. You also have a list of contacts that may help you. So first you figure out the place where you want to go, the person you want to talk to, then you use the directory to figure out the code which they may be found, and then you look at the book and you go and read that paragraph. If that paragraph has been activated, maybe you want to go to a store that is not part of the story, and simply the paragraphs, the Arkham directory will still give you the number of paragraphs, and then you look at the adventure, it's not in there. It simply means that, well, it may be activated in another story, maybe never. Not all of the indication, the locations, the places, the people in the Arkham directory are activated in the story. maybe to learn that adventure, maybe not, but you know that that's a dead end. There's nothing to be found for you there. And so you scratch your head a little bit, you try to collect the clues. Sometimes you do find yourself stuck and like, okay, I thought I collected all the clues. Let's go back and reread something, talk to people again, have a look at the newspaper again, and see logically what is it that I could do next? Where should I go next to solve the case? There's also a sort of like a mentor figure. In Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, you are matching weights with Sherlock Holmes, who is a little bit of a mentor and also definitely a challenger, a contender. And that's perfectly fine. It's very in line with the character of Sherlock Holmes as created by Conan Doyle, somebody who is not burdened by an excessive sense of humility and humbleness, somebody who is very in love with himself, very happy to show off and to demonstrate that his intellectual prowess is superior to that of everybody else. And so basically, sometimes Holmes in that game is helping you, but he also is solving the case very fast, and you're trying to solve it before Holmes does. In this game here, you have an old mentor that pretty much is the local arcade investigator who is trying to train you to pass on the legacy to you. You're gonna be the one that is gonna guard the threshold between worlds and try to push back things that bump into the night. So he's helping you, he's testing you, but definitely much more of a friendly figure in the story than Sherlock Holmes was in the original Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. But if you do know that game, you certainly have recognized the same exact system here with the newspaper, with the directory, with the packet book, with the presentation of the case, etc., etc., etc. So it really is a story. This really is a storytelling element. The mechanics are extremely linear, extremely simple. Figure out what you want to read next, you read it, that adds to the story, that adds to the world that is being depicted, to the situation. You think about the situation and you decide where you want to explore the world of the story next. It really is barely a game and a lot of a story, or in any case definitely it is interactive fiction. But since it has an optimal ending, which is still, if you solve the case and you figure out all of the other things that are associated with it, the main mystery and smaller mystery, then you achieve a higher level of victory. In that sense, you have an incentive that makes it into a game. But really, it is a game so rich in story and theme that, depending on how you look at it, can be a game with a strong story or interactive fiction with a game element. It is either, both, who knows. What's important is that it is a really fun engine. And by the way, this is available for free, but now Arkham Investigator has also been developed into a bigger product. They added more scenarios, I think, from what I read online. They also added a rule or two. They made the system a little more complex game-wise, and they published it, they released it as a game called Mythos Tales, which I haven't played yet. I'm pretty curious to play though, because the system I like enormously. I liked it in Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, and I definitely like the idea here. It feels so thematic, it feels so visceral. It is more interesting than if you are given just a couple of choices, etc., etc. Now, part of this, again, so it feels more real because you have to come up with with what to do next. It's not like you're there thinking about the problem and an angel comes from the sky and gives you a menu of options of what to do next, which sometimes it's how it feels like when you read a book of interactive fiction. Like in the real world, this is the case. What the heck do you do next? How do you figure out a reasonable path of action among many possible options? Is completely up to you. I like that very much. This being said, at least in part, this is a little bit of an effect because you still have a list of possible contacts. So if you're playing thematically, you just look only at the contacts that are necessary to you. If you want to break the game, you find yourself stuck, then you can simply go systematically, methodically through all of them. Then you're playing the game not exactly in the spirit of the game. Doesn't hurt anybody because after all, it's your game, you're playing it, so you do whatever you want with it. But probably you're not getting as much joy out of the game as you could. It can be played solo. and that's why I printed it, because I was traveling and I wanted something to play late at night when I was by myself. Also, it can be played cooperatively with simply players making decisions together, reading different paragraphs, etc., etc., etc. It's a great system. It's a great system. Again, Arkham Detective, Arkham Investigator, in its free print and play version, comes with the basic rules that probably are not as sophisticated as the ones in Mythos Tales, and with one adventure. My only complaint is in the adventure. I understand that what they wanted to do with Arkham Investigator was to give you a sense of the story of the system, so they wanted to give you an intro adventure that was at the intro level. But to me, something that is really intro should be something that makes it easy for you to become familiar with the mechanics, but also it's an appetizer to a delicious meal. It's enticing. It's something that makes me want to continue. So it also needs to have value. It also needs to be to have an aesthetic value in itself, in its own. And this one doesn't do much. It doesn't do that all that much. So the adventure itself was a little disappointing to me because I found it a little too linear, a little too bland. What I like about the system is precisely the puzzle element that it has, precisely the fact that the next smart thing to do is not obvious. In a choose an adventure book, I'm given some choices, and I know that one of them is the right one of them will make things go better, and the other ones maybe not so much. Here I had to figure out by myself where to go next, and that puzzle element that you have to come up with using lateral thinking, using creative thinking. You cannot simply select it from a list, but you have to come up with it. That is the best part of the game. And I don't think that the introductory adventure in Arkham Investigator takes advantage of that, of the potential of the system all that much. I found it a little too obvious, not so much in the mystery, but in the structure. That is, I read the newspaper, I figure out a couple of places that could be interesting. I go there and I find an item with the name of a person on it. Then I go to the directory and I go and visit that person, and maybe it's somebody there that tells me about another person. I go in the directory and I'm told that that person is at that place. I go to the directory, follow the place. It felt like to me there was like a trail of crumbs that had like big lights on them and signs with neon sign that says here's the clue, and that's where to go next. And that to me ruined a little bit the experience. I like the system. This adventure particularly, I found it a little too bland and obvious. I was just following the path, and I didn't feel much of an intellectual challenge. Again, I see the point was maybe I wanted to make you feel good about yourself. Whoa, I solved this. But to me, solving this simply by following what almost felt like a monorail path wasn't all that exciting. So, Arkham Investigator. Now that there is a bigger version, why am I even talking about this? Why didn't I pick up Mythos Tales to start with? Well, because why not give a try to the system for free? And this is actually the main reason why I'm filming this video. Maybe you have read or heard about Mythos Tales. Sorry, my chair almost fell. There was a tentacle pulling it down. Who knows what that means. Maybe you've heard about Mythos Tales and you don't know if it's for you. Then by printing and playing Arkham Investigator, you get a sense of the system. I wish that the adventure also had given me more of a sense of what the system can do when it is implemented correctly or creatively or effectively by a designer. So as of now, I don't know. I think that this failed a little bit. I thought that after playing this, I would immediately go and order Mythos Tales, but I don't know that the stories. I hope that the stories are more engaging, are more involved, are more exciting. They draw me in more. But I don't know about that. It's not a no-brainer. So at some point probably I will pick it up because I like Lovecraft, I like the system, so I'll give it a try. I don't think Arkham Investigator does all that of a good job in introducing you to the potential of the system. But then, what do I know? Maybe all the other stories in Mythos Tales are like this. So actually, this is a perfect sample of what you find there. In any case, if you want to try the system behind Mythos Tales without spending anything, with the exception of some sheets of paper, investing in some sheets of paper and some ink, then Arkham Investigator is available for free. Give it a try. So give a try to the system. It's a great system. I hoped that it would be implemented better in this release here. I definitely hope that it is implemented better in Mythos Tales. If you know about Mythos Tales, if you tried it, let me know. Probably at some point I'll pick it up, but as of now, I just can't tell. I'm not excited about it as I hope I would be when I first picked up Arkham Investigator.